When you buy adjacent to campus and you buy location, a lot of times you overpay for the property. So as a byproduct of overpaying, we had to find creative ways to financially structure this transaction. The transaction included a lot of different components. First of all, it began with an affiliation agreement with the University of Louisville. We spent a lot of time focusing on what the needs of the university were. For instance, they specified what type of retail they wanted in the transaction. We sought to bring in those retail users that complemented really what they were trying to accomplish in their community. And then additionally, as part of the financing process, we utilized new market tax credits. And as part of the new market tax credit process, there was an affordability component. That affordability component, I think, required us to have 10% of our total apartment units affordable. And that really became, you can look at it financially and say that's going to be a detriment to my bottom line, but it also became a real attribute to the property. The fact that we could reach out to student residents that couldn't quite pay what other residents could pay. And that was something that the university was really proud to be part of, and proud to say that we were doing affordable units as part of being affiliated with them. Putting the deal together, it was difficult to imagine we'd probably ever be able to sell this transaction or this property just because of the complexity of it all. But it's that complexity made it come alive. But that complexity, ultimately we believed would cause us to have to hold that property for quite a long period of time. So naturally, when American Campus Communities came along and we began to discuss their interest in that location, they were really a unique buyer, as we were a unique seller. And it takes quite a bit of intellectual horsepower for someone to even comprehend the financing structure we put in place. But they had the team to do it. And so it really allowed us to continue our business plan. Our business plan, really, we are a merchant builder per se, where we ultimately build to sell. Our intention is not to stay in the market long term like American Campus might. And so for us to find a buyer like American Campus with their sophistication was really critical if we wanted to continue to walk along with our business plan. And so meeting the players, starting with Bill Bayless and William Talbot and Chris, etc. I knew immediately after a few conversations that they had the ability to get the transaction done, were willing to commit the right team to get the transaction done, and had the perseverance and persistence to get the transaction done. So that brought us together nicely, and it wasn't to say that once we began working on the sale transaction that it was an easy process. We worked through all the difficulties of that transaction and ultimately got it to the finish line. I'm pretty confident that none of the other large real estate investment trusts or buyers or funds in this market would have the commitment or the capacity to put this transaction together. There were deal points that worked for us and worked against us, and we brought those out. And American Campus Community did the same thing. There were items that would cause adjustments in the price, either direction, and incredibly enough, and this doesn't typically happen in a real estate transaction, both sides were free to talk about adjusters going either directions, working pro and con towards each of us. And ultimately, that fairness, really is something that comes from the top down. And so that's probably the part I enjoyed most about working with the team at American Campus Community, is they stayed true to the integrity of the company they were founded on. So I like that. We'd love to sell more to American Campus because I think we built some really strong relationships in the sale of Cardinal Town, more so than typically would occur, just because of the length of time it took to get the transaction done because of its complexities.